What up? This is your boy DJ EFN. You might know me as a drink champ, but first and foremost, I'm a proud father. I linked up with two of my other dad homies, Manny Digital and KGB, to start the Fatherhoods podcast. Each week, we bring you insider hip-hop stories, parenting, and advice and therapy. The saying is true, it takes a village, and we humorously serve as each other's trusted counsel in figuring out how not to screw up being a good dad.
The Fatherhood Podcast. Beats, rhymes, and diapers.
What's up, guys? Oh, I thought E froze. I thought we were gonna start this off with a freeze.
Freeze!
How we does, cuz?
What up? Thank you again, guys, for convening early for me.
That's all we do, kids. Just work around your schedule. You know how it go.
Yeah, I jinxed us.
I feel like we
wasn't. Sorry. I said we wasn't getting sick over here. And
damn.
My wife got mad at me because I said, oh man, we haven't got sick, and she's like, don't say that.
Oh,
my
damn.
son started the week off with a bunch of sniffles, and then now my wife is here at home in bed, out of it. So, but anyways, what were you gonna say, Kay? Sorry.
I felt like we left off somewhere last time.
No, you just left us.
Oh, okay, maybe that. Maybe that's it. But back to your kids being sick.
Let me get my spectacles on. There we go.
How do they handle sickness?
My son's pretty good about it. He's just slow. He's just and we. The thing is this is the issue that we have, and I don't know if you guys have it. We are unsure if it's allergies or if he's fully sick.
Yeah.
And it's allergy season apparently right now. And he doesn't come off as like, he's not like, he just doesn't, it's not like a full blown cold or flu.
Yeah.
He'll, and sometimes like in the morning, he's worse off than later on in the day. So that's been the whole thing where like, we were like, do we send him to school? Do we not send him to school? And I'm like, I lean towards, I think it's allergies. And he is sluggish though. His energy is a little lower, but then by the end of the day, when we pick him up, he seems fine. So
Do you give him any kind of like decongestion medicine or anything like that?
if it's bad.
Okay.
If it's real bad. But what my wife has been doing is she bought this gnarly like the neti pot,
Yeah.
but they have one for kids that's like this weird little syringe that looks weird, and you stick it up the nose with the saline solution and shoot it through the nose, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but but it clears out his stuff for sure.
Do you guys know if and I guess this is kind of a scientific question that probably none of us know, but like have you given any of your kids like allergy decongestant medicine thinking it was allergies and they had a cold? Does it work? Does it not work? Because I get confused sometimes if my son has allergies or if he's got a cold.
Yeah, we don't know. We have, and I think the allergy medicine will still
Works
help.
either way.
Yeah, with congestion, I would imagine. I mean, again, we don't know. We're not doctors. But
Yeah,
Right.
it does kind of calm some of the cold symptoms anyway, like the stuffiness it helps with and that kind of stuff. So I guess what you're trying to figure out is like, am I harming him at all if I'm going down that path, right?
Or is it even, or am I harming, or does it actually work? Like, will it still, if I made a mistake, because then I don't want to like double up on,
Right.
I should have given you cold medicine,
Right.
Well, talking about harming and mistakes, you see now this thing about that vitamins for the kids now, you could be messing up their liver.
No.
It's like, bro,
Wait,
everything.
What Instagram post did you hear that from?
My wife actually saw it.
On Instagram?
It was a news report, but yeah, Instagram, I'm sure.
It was a news clip on Instagram.
Yeah, and it was like saying
So on
that.
7:30 News.
Yeah. It was
By the way, that 7:30 news on IG is very interesting, especially with the UAPs and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm definitely subscribed. I know Manny is too.
I did actually.
But yeah, supposedly they're saying that now these kids' vitamins at a young age can potentially cause liver problems. So now like we're like, oh, because we give them multivitamins. So now we're like, we're gonna hold off every other day or something. Like,
Oh shit. It's always something, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, it could be either, right? It could be it's a positive, it could be a negative. Like that's why, like, just steering, in my case, steering my family toward like just
healthy eating,
whole food
yeah,
eating is
Holistic.
probably like the lesser of all evils. Because even that you could argue is like
Right.
peppered with all sorts of shit that really is detrimental.
right. But from a vitamin perspective, like fruits and vegetables for sure.
Right, to get them naturally. How
Yeah.
are you guys with because the one thing that's creeping me out too is this whole thing with the plastics.
Yeah, the
And
microplastics.
they're saying it's like living in the brain and causing all these issues. And how are you guys with your kids drinking out of plastic bottles?
So we've eliminated buying. So we used to buy like cases of plastic bottles once upon a time. We stopped that. We got like water filtration in our house, like the reverse osmosis jump off. And then we bought like I usually have it here, but like the Adwala
Right.
aluminum bottles. That's for the most part what everybody's drinking out of these days in my house.
Yeah, we do filtered water and the yeah, we don't really do buy
So,
plastic
so
water.
nothing you because I was telling my wife because my wife was like, oh, they don't really drink out of, I'm infamous with water bottles because I need them to keep track of how much water I drink. If I don't use a water bottle, I'm not
Mm,
drinking water.
mm,
That's so I'm definitely plastic the fuck out.
right.
Um, but my wife was like, "Oh no, the kids don't drink out of plastic bottles, at least not their water." But then I was like, "But look at in the fridge, we have orange juice in a plastic bottle. We have this." She's like, "Yeah, well, but it's being poured into a cup and but I'm like, but it's still
Still
living in a
there.
plastic bottle, so it's
Yeah.
still, I
It's
don't know.
spent
It's like,
it's
how do
spent
you get
more
away
time.
from this stuff?
It spent way more time in a plastic bottle. It's true. It's hard,
Yeah.
bro. Like, I'm
Uh,
sure.
it's hard to do total elimination of that.
Yeah, it's like, we think about it. We've been ingesting. This is all true because I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of studies that say it is, but we have been We've been ingesting microplastics since inception, pretty much, right? So, like, I don't know. One could argue we're in decent shape. When that's gonna come and bite us in the ass, who knows? But for the kids, like now that we know this, like trying to steer clear and eliminate is probably the best course of action. But driving yourself crazy thinking that you're gonna get it to zero, I think is really difficult.
Well, they say actually the most microplastics in the air that we're breathing is like wherever there's cars because they say it comes off the tires.
Oh,
So
Shit.
just being outside, you're inhaling microplastics.
there you go.
So yeah, so I don't
So we
know.
gotta go to Amish land, bro.
Yeah.
And
I
you
mean,
already look like it, Manny.
Yo,
And
I
then
like
K
it.
two, K two,
I
and I
like
guess me too.
yeah.
I like Lancaster, Pennsylvania, bro. They do it right over there. The Amish. It's pretty cool. Have you
But I guess
have
it's
you
I guess at some point there, but also through years, there's got to be adaptation for our bodies for all this stuff, and to some extent, you know.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Um can we revisit child confidence?
Sure.
Because
Sure.
I think I'm always, and Kay, I know you've agreed, and even E, I think in some respects you've agreed to this as well. Like the connection between like sports or activities and the increase in confidence of our kids, right? So my son has been on this journey, an inconsistent one as far as basketball is concerned. Like
Uh-huh.
he, like many kids, will play basketball in those structured environments, right? So like we got two practices. It doesn't matter how many practices. He'll go to all the practices. He'll play in all the games. But that skill work that needs to happen outside of all of that, very
Hmm.
hard for him to consistently do.
You know, I don't mean to cut you off,
Too late.
but okay, I did. But that happens here as well, and some of it I gotta chalk it up to some of it of like there's a difference between like liking doing something and then that overall
Passion.
passion that just drive that, you know.
Right.
And I think what I've tried to be careful not to do is, and I've said it sometimes, where it's like, man, maybe you haven't found that thing that sparks it totally for you. And sometimes we never find that. So I needed to be, and my wife reminded me, I kind of needed to be careful not to set him up for failure of like, he can still like and excel in things, but maybe he's just doesn't have that passion drive like
Fire
you're
for it.
experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that like, and you got to be cognizant of age as well, right? Because like
Yeah.
my son's 11, like they're experimenting with all sorts of things, and it's really difficult to be like, yo, you got to pick one, or you got to show me that this is really your thing, right? But he's gotten so serious after his latest season of basketball about improving. So this kid is as soon as the weather broke a little bit and it got a little warmer up here, this kid has been outside.
Oh, so he's out there now doing that.
He's out there shooting and working on
Okay.
his handle, and
Okay.
even before the weather broke, like he's doing stuff indoors. He's working out. He's actually doing like workout routines every morning before he goes to school.
Wow.
He's done it for like 3 weeks now consecutive. And so now I'm like, oh shit, you're for real about this, huh? And he's like, yo, dad, I'm serious. Because I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of relationships in basketball circles. But I'm not gonna go ask anybody for anything if I know my son's not really about it, right?
Right.
And my daughter was in a similar boat. I was like, yo, you have the raw talent. You got to put in the extra work. And if you're not willing to, then I look like a bozo if I go ask somebody to put you on or help you, get to the next level. So that ship sailed with her, but he's now proven to me, like it's, they say it takes 2 weeks to build a habit. This kid he's there. And the correlation between that work and his confidence beyond just basketball, I'm like super excited about, because like it's very organic and very real at this point, different than I've ever seen. So now I'm pulling relationships and getting him looks at other opportunities to try to elevate his game, and he's super pumped. He was like he heard me talking to a dope coach here in New York, and he was like, was that about me? I'm like, yeah. He goes, so I'm gonna go do that? I go, yeah. You ready for that? He goes, yeah. And then he turns and looks at me and goes, thank you, Dad.
That's dope.
What do you think triggered this?
I think a combination of things. So this is the tightrope or the dance that's so difficult as a parent, right? I'm somebody that is knowledgeable about basketball, so I have a bit of an advantage than I think a lot of parents might that aren't familiar. Navigating the path of basketball, I gotta caveat this because I don't want people to think like, oh, I'm trying to get my kid to the NBA. Like that is far from the goal. The goal is leverage basketball for entertainment and enjoyment, exercise, and a complement to the academic. Like if my kids, all of them, if they suffer even a little bit in their academics, whatever else is taking time up is going to be eliminated. And they understand all of that, and they see the benefits, because I'm a big proponent. I see the connection and the value of growing up being an athlete in an environment that's very competitive, and how that translates into the career world, right? Whether that's corporate or whatever. There's a lot of discipline, a lot of skill, a lot like teamwork is something that is highly valuable in any environment professionally. And a lot of people don't necessarily know how to do it effectively. And I've seen a correlation between athletes and that in the workplace. So that's kind of the goal. It's like, can we get to high school and you play at a competitive program in high school? That's what he wants to do. So I'm like, all right, here's the blueprint. Like I can frame this for you. So, but even me, I have to ask the opinion of a bunch of people, and the basketball world is very toxic, very chaotic, and there's a lot of people just trying to money grab and fatten their pockets to the detriment of the kids. So it's difficult.
But I guess, what do you like this past season? What what do you think happened that took him from like, was it he didn't get enough playing time? He wasn't a starter. Like coaches weren't checking for him, and that like all of a sudden fueled him to be like, yeah, I either want to get better or I'm going to show him up next time. Or what do you think?
Or girls,
right?
Would you say
Girl,
the what?
Yeah,
or girls,
right?
Yo,
let's be real here.
Yeah.
He's so I can't say girls aren't a part of it, but he's so focused on school and sports that girls are a distant third, maybe even fourth. Like he's not, of course, like if they're bigging him up because he did well, like I'm sure he likes that, but he's not doing it for that. But to answer your question, Kay, we had a really rough season on the team he was on. Him and one other kid were really kind of like the kids pushing and kind of making most of the plays in the games. And then it was a big drop off. So there was a lot of losing. There was a lot of opportunity for him to elevate his game in certain opportunities, and he didn't. He kind of played to his competition versus playing to his potential.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I reminded him about often. I'm like, hey, remember this and that? And it wasn't like I'm trying to, no pun intended, but I wasn't trying to sun him. It was more just like, yo, be aware. And he would recall, and he was accountable. So now he's like, all right, I got to play where I know I can play versus like keep being nice on the floor. I got to be a dog. So that's what we've been talking about for the last like 6 months. And I think it finally clicked. Like he's like, this is where I need to be. And I think that's been the motivator for him right now. And time is ticking. So he's in 6th grade. By the time 8th grade rolls around, he's ready to go to high school. High schools are already looking at kids in 7th and 8th grade to figure out who they're going to bring on for their teams. So he's got to really show out if he wants to be a part of that. So this, next few months are going to be pretty important for him.
Well, how'd you get him to help, I guess, consistently turn into the dog on the field as on the court, as opposed to, because it can be, there can be like some games, you're going for it, and then there's other games where it's kind of zoned out or whatever. But how did what do you think? I mean, everyone's different, but what do you think got in his head to be like, all right, this is where he understood this is how I got to be, and this is.
So I had him playing or practicing with a higher level team.
Okay.
In conjunction with playing with his 6th grade team. So he was playing, practicing with the 7th graders. And there's a huge difference between how the 7th graders play. A lot of it is the personnel is a part of it, but the coaching was. And my boy and I are the coaches for the 6th grade team. And there's a huge gap in the kids' understanding and ability to understand the coaching. These 7th graders are just on a different level.
Hey, speaking of coaching, and I'll go back to it, but like, and you can answer this for me as well. Like, should a coach, in your opinion, a good coach, especially like in 6th grade, 7th grade, like, should they be encouraging or giving their players pointers in terms of like, hey, this is what you need to do to get better, or if you want to get more playing time, this is what or if they're not giving that advice and they're really just playing folks just to win the game, like, what's your opinion on that as well?
Yeah, if you're really, it depends what kind of team. Because if you're on a travel team, they don't give a shit about skills. They just want to play to win and prop up their program. That's all they care about. If it's like for the school or like the church, there you need to be able to provide growth opportunity for these kids. There's a limitation though, because of time.
Like more mentoring?
Yeah, like, or at a minimum, just like.
Or just even input of like, hey, this is what.
Right. Like, hey,
I'm seeing.
You keep doing this. If you tweak this and do that, you're going to get more bang for your buck, and it's going to lead to more playing time and that kind of thing. That's crucial in those types of settings.
Yeah.
You put your kid in an AAU program, you can't really expect much of that. Anyhow, so playing with those 7th graders, he was able to see like, okay, this is how high level basketball is supposed to look like compared to what I've been experiencing with the 6th graders. And that flipped the switch.
That switched it. Okay.
Because it was so close in age to him that I think it flipped.
Right. But he saw such a difference too.
Yeah.
And he's like, but it's not far from my age, so I can be this.
And
Now.
and he proved to himself that he could hang with them, practicing with them.
So it gave him confidence.
It gave him confidence. So that's kind of where I was headed with this. Like that confidence has elevated substantially. And I'm even more convinced now than I've ever been of how important it is. I'm not saying sports is for everyone, but in my world, that has been a huge trigger to get to a level of confidence that I haven't seen in him.
How does this all play out with his ability to be a good team player, though? Does this confidence make him like go more solo and less of a team player, or is it making him a better team player, even with the kids that aren't at that level?
I'd say both. So my son naturally is like a nice kid, so he's about like making sure people are,
like feel included, right?
Yeah. Right. So
that's cool.
So that's kind of his baseline. So this is helping him to enhance his own personal ability that's going to contribute to the team's overall success. Not just because he's going and scoring, but because, if he's driving to the basket and now you got 3 guys on him, he's able to now dish out to somebody else and give them an open opportunity.
But the other thing I noticed on the team tip is that if you have confidence as a player, that confidence exudes to your team so that they trust you to want to give you the ball and look to you for things. If you're not showing confidence out there, then you're a detriment to the team in a sense, because they're not really looking, they're not checking for you.
And it could be infectious and maybe even create a leader, in that. I mean, is there captains in this situation, like team captains?
Yeah, some schools typically do elect a captain or 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to share that because I know we've talked about the sports stuff, but I've seen such a growth over the last few months. I'm like, damn. Because like as a parent, like, okay, we've talked about this. Like sometimes we ride our kids too fucking hard about shit, right? And I've been there. And then I've pulled all the way back where I pretend like, not that I don't care, but I'm not really trying to stress you. And sometimes that comes across like I don't care.
Right.
Right. Or it's the frustrating thing is, it's something that your kid wants to do and wants to excel at, but yet they're still not taking the steps themselves to like put it into high gear. And then when it comes from us of like reminding them or trying to force them to do it, it comes off like nagging, and it's just the point is missed.
Yeah, and nobody wants to do shit when you're like nagging them. Like it's a negative experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the balance is kind of, and my oldest daughter I think also plays a big role here too, because she's been through this at a much higher level than my son, and she's supporting him subtly in ways that I know are helping him. So
that's dope. You mentioned the pulling back. My son's doing jiu-jitsu, like I've been telling you guys, and he's still doing one-on-one sessions.
Yeah.
But I've noticed I've been like trying out where if I like, so I would go and just watch, and even like chime in if I see that he's kind of like losing focus to get him back in focus. And so what I've been trying is like kind of like going away from his sight, like into another room. But I feel bad because at the same time, I feel like he's like, damn, my dad doesn't care to watch me. But I've noticed, because I can hear, and sometimes I even look through like a little window, that he's doing better and he's more focused when I'm not watching him. Like, because it's just him and the coach, he feels. So like, it's like part of me feels terrible, because I notice that when I do walk in, he's like, he gets like happy, but then he loses focus.
Yeah. Have you spoken to him about that? Like
I have.
I noticed that you do better when I'm not around and kind of get his feedback.
No, I've told him, but he's 4, and I don't know that he, totally gets it. But I think he does, because I've been doing it pretty consistent now for the past 3 or 4 classes. And the first one, I think he was missing me and kind of felt a little down that I wasn't watching. But then, like, he'll go and get water, and when he goes and gets a sip of water, he can see where I'm at. And what I do is I try to like show him like, look, like I'm like thumbs up, like almost like I'm paying attention, but you don't see me type of thing.
Yeah. It's a skill for these kids to block out the crowd. Because even, my son, like we've had to remind him, like when we show up at games or whatever, Like he'll want to look at us, or if he does something good, he'll want to look, and I'm like, yo, pretend we're not even here,
Just focus,
so that you
right.
can focus. You know.
It's so I had a conversation with a high level coach the other day, and he was telling me, when I see a kid is looking for his parent, I know that's not a fit for my program.
Oof. Wow. Okay.
Because it's a dependency type of thing.
Yeah, like it should be me as the coach and the kid, and the coach tells the parents. This is a high school coach. The coach tells the parent, and they win state championships every year.
Oh, but these are those hardcore ass. This is a hardcore coach.
He's a serious coach, but he's a great coach. Like he's stern. He's got his shit like everybody, but he's very fair and expects the best of his kids and pushes them, and like nothing bad, but like as close to like a military program as you might imagine without the foul shit. And he talks to the parents beginning of the season. It's like, hey, your kid's going to be a part of this program. Here's what it means to be a part of this program. You getting involved is not helping the program. So, and in the games, I really respect the fact that you're there cheering for them. Let me do my job and coach. They don't need to be involved in having conversation with you guys. And that's the way it should be. Me as a parent that understands that, it's very difficult for me to even adhere to that kind of rule. But it makes all the sense in the world. And it's something that I know for a fact, like, makes a difference for these kids.
All right. And just like that, K's out like a whiff of bat.
Yeah, dog.
That's dope, man. I'm happy for your son that he's finding that confidence and growing into it.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, like, again, as we go through this journey, like as fathers, there aren't a lot of signs that make you feel like you're doing things right. You feel like you're doing the best you can, but sometimes it's just like you're not sure. You're like, damn, and you're always second guessing shit. But then, like in this moment, I'm seeing like, yo, my son all my kids are thriving in school. They're doing really well. He just came back they did like a breakfast for like the students of the month, and he was one of them. And there's like a handful, like 5 or 6 or something like that they pick from different like groups inside of the school. So he just had the opportunity to do that. They gave him a certificate. He's pumped. His grades are out of this world. He's doing well now basketball wise, and he just started playing baseball for the first time, and he's having a ball. So like it's a really good time. And yeah, man, I'm proud of the journey so far.
Are your kids in honors?
All of them.
Wow. And were they good academically, right, like from kindergarten, first grade?
From jump. Yeah.
Damn,
it wasn't anything that we like imposed. As a matter of fact, we try our best to like pump the brakes a little bit. Like, yo, give yourself some grace. Like, who cares if you got a 97?
But from that early?
Yeah. My youngest daughter.
Struggling with my daughter right now.
Let me correct that. So my oldest, she started off like goofing off in like kindergarten. And my daughter had a serious conversation with her. From that conversation, like straight A student.
Your daughter? You mean your mom? I mean your wife.
Sorry, my wife had a conversation with my oldest daughter.
Right.
Around kindergarten, first grade. No, kindergarten. And then from there, it's been straight A's pretty much the whole time.
Oh, yeah. They don't really grade my son. He's in pre-K.
Yeah, he's too young.
But but he's doing well already and showing that he's like at the top of his class for where he's supposed to be in comparison to the other kids, and the teacher's saying, yeah, he's there. He gets it. My daughter, who's in first grade, she just seems like she has an issue with focusing on stuff. So she's like, she has half of her grades are A's and the other ones are D's and F's. And we're running into it. And then for homework, like my wife is frustrated because the focus is so hard.
Yeah.
To get her, it's hard to get her to focus on things, on simple things. So yeah, we're struggling with that right now.
It's tough, bro. And
they're on track.
like it's easy for me to say because I'm in a different situation, but like it's really difficult to push your kids to excel in academics because I haven't found a good way, and I haven't seen many examples of good ways to do it where you're not almost like a drill sergeant. You know what I mean? Like as calmly as you might communicate it, you're still trying to force your kid to, in this case, focus or like do better or whatever, and it can come across as like, you know, a bad thing. And like I said, I'm guilty of it too. Like I don't know how to navigate that. But at the end of the day, like school is a means to an end, and it's not like it's not going to be perfect for everybody.
Right.
And so sometimes, if my kid got like, even to this day, like if chemistry just wasn't like, science was not one of my kids' strengths, and I know that based on the history. If you got a 75 in a test, like I'm not tripping. Like
right.
I know this isn't your strength, and that's okay. But we got to pass so that we're not left back, hopefully. And even if we got to figure that out, we figure that out. But like, it's tough because the expectations are really high, and you kind of feel left out if somebody's got kids that are performing really well and yours is not. Like, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah, and at this age, my daughter being in first grade, we're just like looking at it like we're at the bottom of a uphill battle, and we're like, damn, like. And then my wife, both of us, we were like wondering, well, does she have ADHD or something like that? Because like she does well in her physical activities like dance, ballet, and gymnastics. Um, and she gets an A in PE, like in playing outside or whatever right now that they do. But yeah, so we're just like, and then part of me is like, even if she does, like, even if we were to test her for ADHD and she were to have it, I don't know, part of me just doesn't even believe in that being a thing. So like, I would hate to diagnose her with something like that, and that be used as a crutch to say, oh, well, this is what I have.
Yeah. So I've been a believer in what you just stated for a long time, as far as like my kid might be different, might be more or have or be more easily distracted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's like I don't think they consider it a disease, but like a medical thing, right? Like
Right.
I just think like, my kid's just different. Like people are different. Like some people are
Yeah.
left-handed, some people are right-handed.
Yeah.
Like
This person's loud, this person's quiet. This
right.
person blinks a lot, this person does this a lot. Like
Right. But I have seen as of late extremes that
right.
in those cases I could understand why diagnosis makes sense and even medication, but
the medication to me would have to be a super extreme.
it has to be extreme, right? Like I would say, like she's still mad young. She's in first grade. Most of her day is play in school. Like very little is like structured work, I would imagine. So I just navigate that shit as best you can and just work with the teachers. Like, all right, what are you noticing that we could be working on, and see how you can figure that out.
I also think she's starting to be influenced by other kids also. Like distracted. Like it's the beginning of socialization basically.
Yeah.
That first grade time frame, and we notice there's certain kids or a kid that might influence her and distract her. So yeah, these are all the things that we're considering. But yeah, it's tough. And I know my wife, she's the one who's like really tasked with like helping her with her schoolwork, and she gets very frustrated with it, and we're both worried about it. But
I don't blame y'all. I mean, it's serious, man. You got to take it serious. But
oh no, for sure.
Like my youngest, she was having issues in school. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this third grade, like it was distracted with other kids, like making things difficult in class, and she would jump in and be disruptive. And then the teacher brought it to our attention. We then sat down with her and we were like, yo, what's going on? Like, this is not how you normally function. Like, why are you letting other things take you away from the only job you have? Like, do your job well, and then all you got to do is play. Like, that's it. That's all we ask. And I have the advantage that 2 older siblings of hers have essentially shown her the way.
Right.
So it makes my job a whole lot easier. And the other 2 were not a challenge for us. She has been the most challenging with school, not from a grade perspective, but more just like a behavior perspective. And now, knock on wood, we're smooth sailing again.
All right, bro. I think
my G.
concluded today's fatherhoods.
Yes, sir. Catch y'all next week.
Pizza. Read all about it.